Welcome this week in Missouri Politics. So much news this week. We're going to do opinion maker panel the whole time. Let's talk politics. Former Representative Jeremy LaFaver from Kansas City. Welcome back.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Friend of the show, Representative Bruce Franks in St. Louis.
Absolutely. Good
Love
to be
the shirt.
Here, always.
Nobody's TV's off right now. You wear that shirt all the time. Folks that don't watch. Godfather of the Republican Party here in Missouri, David Barklage. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks, sir.
First time on the show, legislator from St. Louis County, Houseman Representative Bruce DeGrote. Very good to have you on the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Let's talk about, there was so much that happened this week. Let's just start Monday. Monday comes Representative Barnes, the head of the Oversight Committee, released a letter basically saying that legally the House Committee wasn't the right venue to do investigations. He said he thinks the new Missouri stuff should be brought to light and the donors revealed, and he pretty much moved this to the Cole County Prosecutor's Office. What do you think? You're a lawyer yourself. Seem like if you can't do it well and if it's not the right venue, don't force politics into it.
Well, you know, I appreciate Jay and all the hard work that he and the committee put on this. I also appreciate all the hard work he put in this 4-page letter. In my opinion, he came to the right result. It should have been 1 page, 1 sentence long, and he actually put it in on page 3 of the letter. Accordingly, this committee is not the appropriate entity for further investigation. He could have just left it at that, and I would have been fine with it. All the other stuff is garbage, or not garbage, extra, not necessary.
Extra. Jay, he did write a lengthy letter, made several points in it. I think generally the consensus is if you're going to have a dark money committee, you should show the light on it. But I don't know that even he thought, or the consensus I found of Jeff City was that the House had the legal ability, or was the right venue to find that.
Well, I don't think the House was the right legal entity to do it while the governor was in office, and I think Jay did the right thing to say, you know, now that the governor's no longer in office, this is possibly the Cole County prosecutor or the attorney general. And I think the letter, personally, I think it was appropriate for Jay to lay out what he sort of views as where the case is, the facts as he sees them, and then put it to Josh Hawley to see if he's willing to stand up and do something about it.
I thought it was interesting, though. I mean, the parts of this case that involve the Ethics Commission may involve the actual prosecutors on the ground, like a Kim Gardner, like a Mark Richardson, the Cole County prosecutor. I kind of thought he knows the law, and I think Jay Barnes has pretty honorably walked this process through. Seems like he would be the right person to have a good time to know how to end it.
Yeah, I agree. And really to go back to one thing that Representative DeGrote said is I really like what the committee did, and we appreciate what the committee did, but when it comes to just full circle about the letter in general, I think Jay did exactly what we knew Jay was going to do. Jay's been a fair person that speaks up, no matter the party.
It did sound like him.
Yeah, it was definitely Jay. And so, I mean, I'm glad he put it out there, and, you know, taxpayers are owed that. Folks are owed that information. If he feels that it should keep going, maybe it's time for Josh Hawley to step up and do something.
Scott, I think that what it really points out is the fact, 3 things. Is one, the governor resigned abruptly and didn't really take any responsibility, and you have for any of the actions. So you have a committee chairman who there was no deal, no obligation to drop everything upon the governor's resignation, trying to just sort of close the loops. And I think part of it is policy, part of it may be personal, but part of it's policy, that were there things that were conducted illegally that we need to look at the laws, or in the spirit of the law, that need to be changed going forward in the future so that we never have this situation. And, you know, it's highly charged. He was attacked a lot by the governor, so he has his right to sort of finish things on his terms.
But when it's over, it's over. I mean, to me, there's a little bit of an idiom of when the governor did resign. There's a lot of House members that can now go back to their districts and say, well, I didn't see all the evidence, and then to other folks say, well, yeah, he was going to get impeached.
But,
I mean, he did save spares for people.
But you don't get to quit your job to avoid criminal prosecution when you've broken the law.
You can't just say, I'm calling it quits, I take no responsibility at an end.
But Jay Barnes,
and I think that's his point.
He was chairing a committee.
No, and that's why he's sending it over to Hawley and said, do your job.
And you really bring up a very interesting point. We charged that committee with finding the facts. We did not charge that committee with now becoming prosecutor, now becoming judge. And I think, Jay's a really smart attorney, and I think sometimes he blurred the line on that.
Do you think that in that situation, though, the way I read the letter was it came from him, not in his capacity so much as chairman, but if other people on the committee, the committee's over, the special session was adjourned, other people can sign on to it if they want to. Right. And that seems like he's using his right, as every Missourian has, to file ethics complaints or write letters.
And that's exactly right. Anybody can file an ethics complaint. If he wants to do so by himself, that's his prerogative.
I'll just say this, on behalf of the apologist for the governor, he can't just quit and say it's over. I think Jay's winding down appropriately. I never saw Jay blur that line in the entire. I think he held it probably as good as any member of the House could have ever done in that role with the attack. He was upholding the institution.
Interesting going on the way. He even took a shot at Catherine Hanaway. And to be honest with you, I was a person that defended Catherine Hanaway against allegations from her client, Eric Greitens, that she was a person who would say anything to get ahead. I think part of what Jay has some truth in there. I think I was wrong. He can tip one of the former governor in that response. Supreme Court, Jeremy LaFaver, I looked on Twitter, I saw people weeping and gnashing of teeth. It was almost like the Cubs had won the World Series again. Justice Kennedy resigns. And on the same week that decisions come out, it seemed like the response from the left was very high-pitched.
Well, I think obviously folks on the left are very, very disappointed. They had put up a Supreme Court nominee that was immensely qualified, and it took the Republicans over 200 days to hold a hearing for that nominee, and I think justifiably the left is a little upset. I will say I think that there are some on the left that are disappointed in themselves for revamping the Senate rules the way that they did when they did it. And if there's a lesson here to be learned, there are political consequences that come back because the political pendulum swings back and forth. And I don't know the best move forward right now. I think our discourse between the two parties on this topic, I know on a lot of topics, have got to calm down a little bit.
Bruce Ranks, do you think a court nominee, a lot of the signature progressive policies in our country have come not from legislatures, from the courts? Very few conservative landmark decisions come from the courts. Do you think that's where the left takes it more seriously, is because they look at it as a place to make policy as well?
Absolutely, especially when you think about some of the decisions that have come down, and with the makeup being what it is now, especially with Kennedy, resigning and Trump being able to actually appoint the next person. We know how things are going to go when it comes to important decisions. I mean, we see them punting on certain things and saying, okay, we're going to leave those to the states, when we know that most of those states are conservative states, so some of those things that are being punted back to them are going to go through anyway. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fight, but.
David Barklage, Joe, we talk about the Supreme Court, a lot of folks in this state, you think you're talking about abortion. Will this actually change abortion policy in the United States of America?
It's yet to be seen. I think that the court serves as sort of two very key functions. Is one, they are elitists that help bring needed social change at times that the institutions can't do. On the other hand, they're also sort of help swing the pendulum back when things go too far in one direction, I think. And so it is critical to have a balance in the court. I'm somewhat speculative of Roe v. Wade being overturned, because if it is, you're going to have states' rights, and you're going to have some states then are going to be dramatically increasing abortions, and other states try to dramatically decrease, and those states probably they're already decreased. So it'll be a very interesting, impact of if they address that issue, what it really does to abortion in America. It may just divide states more, but may not really accomplish what either side wants.
Representative, the legislature was very active in labor policy this last session. A big decision comes out right when the Kennedy announcement is, saying that public sector unions don't have to pay union dues, essentially right to work for public sector employees.
What a great day for all workers yesterday was. When I read the Janus decision, I couldn't believe it. The Supreme Court definitely got it right. Judge Gorsuch has proven himself to be a rock star, and a rock star.
What do you think that is a part of it? Is I don't hear people saying Judge Gorsuch wasn't qualified or hasn't. I mean, he was a conservative judge appointed by a Republican president and affirmed by a conservative Senate. He's been a professional, right?
Yes, definitely. And what this decision does for workers is we've got a big ballot issue coming up, and on Prop A, it just affirms what Republicans have been saying about right to work for as long as I can possibly remember. That it's a Worker Freedom Act, that you have the right to reject being forced to pay union dues.
Chairman LaFaver, you know a few government employees. I don't hear the government employees saying that.
No, you don't hear any employees, any massive worker movement saying we want this kind of freedom. What they're saying is we want the ability to organize for ourselves to make our lives better. You see in every right to work state, their economic indicators are not as good as non-right to work states are.
But we agree on that point. They should have the right to organize, but make it worthwhile, make it voluntary.
Let's talk about another organization. This is actually, I think, a very good thing for Josh Hawley's Senate campaign. I mean, I think Claire McCaskill is a huge presence in Missouri politics. She's a very good politician, one of the best the state's ever seen. Josh Hawley may have a little issue with organizing all the Republicans together. If there's a confirmation vote on a Supreme Court pick, Claire McCaskill's in a terrible spot, isn't she?
Yeah, I think this could put her in a tough spot, but I think the Democrats are in a position to say we need to wait until the midterm elections are over, let the American people speak about how the next Supreme Court justice should be appointed. That's the way they handled it
elected a lot of
last time.
Republicans. David Barklage, if I'm Josh Hawley, I see this news and I'm like, okay, wow. And then I see Mitch McConnell say we're going to do a vote in the fall. I think that works out very well for his timeline.
I do. I think the problem is with the rule changes that you noted from the Democrats is that Mitch is going to manipulate this and the timing to maximize in the elections. I think that's the world we live in. So whether the vote occurs before or after, that'd be a tactic that they'll probably be following polls and following key races and where those senators are at. So I think the timing of the decision of the court is going to be all politics.
Representative, you're Josh Hawley. You actually have some experience dealing with issues for the Supreme Court. It's a place that you can talk comfortably on. Now you have this issue coming up in a campaign where, you know, if you organize and excite Republicans in the state, Donald Trump won by 19, you should win, right?
When I was knocking doors, there were a lot of people that told me they were voting for Donald Trump because of the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court only. And this president is already going to have 2 appointments to the Supreme Court. There could possibly be another one. How old is Ruth Bader Ginsburg? She 85? He could have three Supreme Court justices appointed.
She seems like the type that would wait till after a presidential election if she left on her own decisions.
Maybe. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. All right, you're Claire McCaskill. You get another person like Gorsuch, qualified jurist.
Visualize that coming right there.
She calls you and says, "What should I do? Should I vote for him? Should I not?"
Personally, me,
I'm
gonna fight. I mean, I'm gonna put up the fight. That's just. I mean, we ain't got nothing but our fight left.
What does she do?
One thing I will say, I've been one of the most critical folks on our side when it comes to Claire McCaskill. One thing that I do know is that she is a really good politician and public servant, and I think that she'll make the right decision at the end of the day.
What's she do?
I think eventually, I think she feels it's advantageous that she makes that vote.
What does she do?
I don't know whether she votes yea or nay, but I know that Claire McCaskill will look at it seriously and take it seriously and take the thoughts and opinions of Missourians. She's not afraid to anger people on the right or the left. Yeah, and so the thing I like about Claire McCaskill the most is that she makes a decision that is best for her and for the state of Missouri.
Is that a yes or no?
She definitely makes the best decision for the
they
state
call
of
the
Missouri.
absentees and they go,
What's she votes do? No.
She votes no?
Votes no.
What's she do?
No way.
She votes no?
No.
It's interesting. I think she could vote yes. If it's a qualified person that doesn't, that
if
checks
it were
out.
a bad year, a wave year, the other direction, maybe. I think she has to go where the money goes, and the money is going to follow a no vote. And if she leaves them, she's in trouble. But if the wave is going to support her, I think she politically, while it's going to make the race close, I think she can survive it in this climate.
Okay, well, let's have everybody else vote to come back after the break. We're going to keep talking politics here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
In my state of Oklahoma, since it's become a right-to-work state, we've lost tens of thousands of jobs, and wages have gone down. I lost my job of 36 years.
Census Bureau and U.S. Department of Labor reports show that in right-to-work states, families make over $8,700 less per year, but CEOs make 361 times the average worker.
Prop A in Missouri is not what they're trying to sell you.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
At Ameren, Missouri, we know what light can do. It draws people together and chases monsters away. And if you shine it in the right direction, it will light the path for the next generation. showing them what their tomorrow could look like, and spotlighting the possibilities that lay in front of them. Investing in our community by lighting the way forward. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back this week in Missouri Politics. We are talking politics with our opinion maker panel here. Representative Bruce DeGrote. Always
DeGrote.
right. Yes, for St. Louis County. David Barklage, Representative Bruce Franks from St. Louis City. Jeremy LaFaver from Kansas City. You have a new mayoral candidate, and you probably looks like you have a new mayor, right?
I think so. Jason Kander has entered the mayoral race, entered the race on Monday with a bang, rolled out a whole bunch of endorsements. I was lucky enough to serve in the legislature in the same district that Jason served after he came, and I tell you, my neighbors are excited, and I know when I knock doors around Kansas City, people know Jason as a hard worker, somebody who loves Kansas City, and somebody who's going to do a good job.
I got a lot of respect for Sly James. Those are big shoes to fill.
There are, and I think that Sly's team is likely going to support Jason. I think that'll likely be a pretty
Former Senator
smooth
Justice
transition out.
Stepped out of the race, right? A lot of folks are, I think that's where things are heading.
I think some people, honestly, are a little disappointed that they're not going to get the chance to vote for a Jolie Justice for mayor, and there's probably some people that are upset at Jason to some extent. I think that's largely in the sort of intimate political circles. Yeah. Regular people, regular folks in Kansas City, I don't think pay attention to the inside baseball politics of that mayoral race. I think they're going to see Jason Kander on that ballot, and he's going to win overwhelmingly.
But don't you, I mean, I get a little bit of sort of a rerun on Greitens here. I worry that Jason is, I mean, this is very smart from a presidential run. He really needs an office to run from for credibility. The cities are really your progressive hotbeds to sort of find issues. He's in a Trump state, so he's got a natural enemy for the primary, to sort of build up nationally. So they're very smart political decisions doing that. But I hope he doesn't sacrifice, the needs of people in Kansas City for being a presidential candidate. Because in St. Louis, I'll just say this, when you had Mayor Slay, sort of focused on issues he knew the legislature could agree on, and there were issues that he knew that they wouldn't be in agreement on. And I hope Jason Kander doesn't use Kansas City as sort of his lab to grow a presidential race, and instead really shows innovative policies, which he's capable of doing, to really benefit the people.
Representative, what does he need to do? I mean, I think that'll be the question is, do you focus on Kansas City enough?
Well, I'm not sure that I'm trying to recall the last time a president got elected after being a mayor of a city.
Probably more than when Missouri Secretary of State, though.
Well, it's clear that this guy, he's very well spoken, he's very smart. It's clear that as soon as he lost to Roy Blunt, he's been looking for another position. He's got a national spotlight kind of view, and obviously this is just a stepping stone to his next spot.
What do you think? You're somebody with a bit of a profile yourself. It is a change in what the course most people thought he was on.
Absolutely, and even talking to him, I think he's, no matter what people feel about next steps or so on and so forth, I know he's sincere about Kansas City.
He's a bright guy.
And he's sincere about the job. I think to say that he's been looking for something else is a tad bit unfair because I've seen the work that he's put in when it comes to our voter rights issues and some of the things that he's just been stressing across the nation. So I think that he will be the right fit, in Kansas City, and I think he'll do an amazing job.
You're one of the most real people I know in politics.
Absolutely.
If he calls you up and you look at what he's doing, what does he need to do to buttress what I think will be the top thing people will be looking for? Are you doing this just to buy time to run for, are you going to be in Iowa half the time? What does he need to do to kind of address those concerns? I think there'll be some real concerns there.
I mean, he needs to come out and basically be upfront with the people. Let folks know exactly why you're here, what you're going to get done while you're here. That way, folks can hold you accountable for your platform or anything that you've said that you were going to do that you didn't do.
You'll be supporting him?
Oh, absolutely.
You?
Yeah.
Maybe not. You didn't decide on. Look, I think having Jason Kander on national TV makes Missouri look good. I mean, he's an articulate guy,
Again,
very good.
I think we're going to find out very quickly, is he running Kansas City as a presidential candidate or as the mayor of Kansas City? And that'll mean everything.
With Eric
Actions speak
Greitens
louder
in the
than
wake
words.
of his time, that was a criticism that was leveled at him. Will that make it more keen? Will it be more sensitive to that issue now?
I think so, and one of the telltale signs is going to be, look at the donor list. Where's that money coming from? I guarantee it won't be from Missouri.
Will it be transparent money?
Probably not.
Jason Kander's money will absolutely be transparent.
I think Jason Kander's smart for that.
Will be.
I got a whole bunch of $27 from Bernie supporters across the nation, and it didn't have nothing to do with nothing.
Let's talk about this. We have a race that, because of all the news that's been coming in waves, haven't had a chance to talk about. The state auditor's race. It's an important thing. Nicole Galloway was appointed to the position, I think done pretty well. I don't hear a lot of people making huge problems or issues with her performance. The Republican primary, three-way primary, Sandra McDowell, a representative term limited, Paul Kurtman, and you have David Wassinger, well-known businessman here in St. Louis. What is the breakdown on that? Those maybe names. Who else?
I can't remember the name of the last one. I'm sorry.
It's not a good sign. Let's talk about the three we know.
You know, my focus is really more towards the general because Nicole Galloway was, and I apologize to sound partisan here, but she's weak now. She was very much a lapdog when she was with Nixon. She didn't report the fact that they weren't giving back tax refunds or things like that. She's in a position, if she wins this race, to be the biggest antagonist to the new governor and to really grow in a partisan way at the right time. And so from a partisan view, this race is most important, not on who wins the primary, but who wins the general, and that's my focus.
There's an alderman from your neck of the woods, Mr. Roach, that's also running for state auditor and could use it as a, if he's not successful, it's a springboard. But let's talk about this. Do you have a favorite in the race?
It's really a tough one for me. I've met David Wassinger a couple of times. I've certainly served with Paul Kurtman. I think either one of them are going to be qualified, or are qualified candidates, and we'll do an outstanding job.
It's got to be hard, as someone that's ran in the Republican Party, to run this race against the backdrop of how do you get any traction until now, maybe, in a race that just no one was paying attention to.
Yeah, and it's true. No one is paying attention to it.
Interesting thing. On the other side, look, I think Nicole Galloway's done a good job as auditor. She was appointed. She came into a challenging situation. I think she served honorably. It also, to me, her appointment by Governor Nixon, I think makes the lieutenant governor appointment look better. I mean, Democrats weren't complaining about that appointment, and that job is actually to audit you. You're picking your own auditor. I think she's done well, and I think that if Claire McCaskill wins, doesn't she win?
I think she can ride those tails of Claire McCaskill, but yeah, the Senate race is driving that. No, I don't think so.
You know Nicole Galloway now? My favorite statement was that you said you didn't know before you got into politics there was a state auditor. I think you're in the majority there.
Absolutely. But one thing I will say is after meeting with Nicole and seeing the work that she's done, I have seen her not only be fair, but work to keep the integrity of that particular position. Whether it's a Democrat, whether it's a Republican, holding folks accountable is what she's doing. Whether it's auditing in the city of St. Louis and different departments, or different departments within our state. So I think she's done a great job of actually being fair in the process. And now I do know what an auditor is, and I've had a damn good example of what an auditor should do.
Who wins primary?
I think Wassinger.
Who wins primary?
I don't. It's a toss-up between Kurtman and Wassinger.
Who do you think wins? You know Paul Kurtman a little bit.
Yeah, I think probably Wassinger.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect and appreciation for Paul Kurtman. I just think there's so much I don't know if it's untapped potential, but it seems to me like he's got so much more to offer, and he just can't break through and won't break through. And so I'm going with Wassinger on it, but I like the call a lot.
A lot of folks in the party have lined up behind Wassinger. Can Nicole win that race if Claire McCaskill loses?
I think there's always a shot.
Always a shot like that. Let's talk some of these primaries. Big heated primary over St. Joseph and Platte County. It looks almost like a redo of 8 years ago, where you have a Buchanan County candidate and the presiding commissioner, Harry Roberts, and you have Tony Luetkemeyer, well-known guy in Platte County. But Platte County seems to be, they think of themselves as from Kansas City, where Buchanan County people think of themselves as from Buchanan County. How does it change from 8 years ago?
I think the dynamic's the same. I think the X factor is where the union voters go. Yeah. A lot of them are going. It's be interesting if the unions actually pick sides in these primaries. And then the second thing is that the Republican Party, the turnout is so low, it's going to be interesting. Is it the center right, the far right, who actually turns out? And so I think there's going to be some prizes.
Make more right-wingers turn out?
You know, it could, but I got to see when you look at the Clay County and the results of that Senate race and the depressed turnout, it's hard to know who's going to turn out in August. So this is not going to be like any other election primary we've seen, I think.
You're a Platte County person. You're pro-labor. You're going to vote, mostly to go vote against right to work, but you're a Republican. Who do you think you vote for there?
On the Republican side, I'm not really. I haven't followed it well. I think the Democratic candidate, the Democratic candidate in the general has got a real shot, and I think Republicans are genuinely worried about that.
Well, I think they should be. I mean, we're talking about that race a lot. That's one of the. Right now, there's probably 2 Senate generals. Let's talk about the primary in St. Louis County to replace Senator Chappelle Nadal. Brian Williams, young, up-and-coming guy, very impressive. Joe Adams, very good politician. Sharon Pace served in the legislature. A lot of folks know her. Who wins that? I don't. To me, that is a real unknown on the ground right now.
From what I hear in Kansas City, and Bruce may know this better than I do from being here in St. Louis, but what I'm gathering is it's likely between Adams and Williams. You know, but I don't know the city, you know, that well in the voter demographics. But there's buzz around Williams, and there's a little buzz around Adams right now. From
That's
what I'm
a race
hearing.
it seems like labor having right to work could influence. Steve Stenger being on the ballot, there might be that turnout might be pretty good. I mean, who wins the race?
So I actually think it's a toss-up.
Sharon Pace being the only woman on the ticket. How does that affect it?
So, I mean, you got to look at the fact that Sharon Pace and Joe Adams both served in the legislature. Sharon Pace being the only woman. A lot of folks liking both, you know, both folks. Then when it comes to Brian Williams, somebody young, fresh, talks well. I mean, he shows up.
Who wins?
I don't. It just depends on. It depends on how much Lacey Clay plays in that race, because with Brian being, you know, from that mold, I mean, there are people that will support and there are people that are tired of Lacey, so it just depends.
With a minute left, who won the week?
Public sector workers.
Who won the week?
I think the new Deputy Chief of Staff, Robert Nodell, he is decent, incorruptible, been in politics for years, but he's been waiting for an opportunity to make real change, and I think he's got the opportunity to do it, and he will.
Very few people could say the word incorruptible and they wouldn't roll their eyes.
That's right.
Robert Nodell's one of them.
I say Cori Bush with the win up in New York. It really sets the it really sets the goal with Representative-elect Alexandria. I think that you know, folks are showing that they're tired. They're tired of the same old, same old.
You honestly think they can replicate that here? You believe that a long time.
I firmly believe that Cori Bush can be our next Congresswoman.
Who won the week?
I'm going to go back to hometown of Kansas City and say my good friend Jason Kander won the week. He had a great rollout, lots of endorsements, lots of energy in Kansas City, rolling into his official announcement on July 14th. I think things are going in his direction.
I'm going to go back to my neck of the wood and say Peter Kinder from Cape Girardeau actually got a plum government job, cut the budget, and quit. That is the most Peter Kinder thing you could ever do. And we will hope the thing that Missouri politicos will do is watch This Week in Missouri Politics next week. We'll see you live from Kansas City.
Brought to you by Spire, the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts, and Sterling Bank.